I really want to know what Zettor was actually thinking right there. I think he was testing the waters. I really do think he was actually seeing if Tanya was on board. And he had it out. He had it out. I like it because he literally comes there, have a little moment of like, victory, enjoying the tea and everything like that, and completely just lays out that the plan's failing. The mission is failing. And it comes to this little kind of conversation where he's sort of prodding at Tanya. He goes over there and says, in order for us to be victorious, we have to do something unpleasant. And it seems like Tanya picks up on it, like just reading a little bit there, and he kind of pushes back on the whole idea of it being like the Western Front or whatever. Says, no, a little bit more to the East. Tanya picks up on it at some point, like, oh crap, I see where this is going. This is not good. And he manages to sort of sidestep it by not giving an answer yes or no. But I think Zettor was basically going, okay, I have this issue back at home. There's going to be an uprising. There's going to have to be something unpleasant happening. So I'm going to pose this question, and depending on how Tanya answers, I have two different routes. If Tanya says yes, I have an ally. I have a co-conspirator. I can go and take her, and we can work together to take down the leadership, because the leadership is going to get this country destroyed. And they're forcing us into a war endlessly, and we're running out of supplies. Nothing's working out. The mission has failed. Everything's going down the shitter. And we have people back at home are about to uprise. Things aren't going well. If he says yes, we got it. We can go up against leadership. But if Tanya says no, then I could say, oh, well, yeah, that's a good answer. I was about to have to kill you if you said otherwise. And okay, by the way, there's an issue back at home. What I'm actually talking about is that there's an uprising. What are you talking about, Tanya? You're getting crazy. Chill out, Tanya. We have civilians might actually do something back at home. We have to have you handle. I think he had that option, and so he decided, let's test the waters. Again, it just seemed like that's how it's playing out. And I think it's really telling how Zettor responds to Tanya's response. Because Tanya gives the whole speech about how, like, I'm a soldier. I'm supposed to listen to orders, yada, yada, yada. The way that Zettor responds is, oh, not yes or no. It was like, okay, good. You're still clever in the end. You managed to dodge that bullet. And okay, you kind of left the door open for me that I can kind of step away from this. I think Zettor was going for that. I really do think so. Because, again, everything seems to be laying out that this is not good. We're not doing well. Things are falling apart. And I love how they portray this. Having, Tanya go back home. He's like, go back home. You got to see how things are going on over there. You're needed back there. You got to go see how things are going on over there. He goes back home and goes to Rittersdorf. And Rittersdorf basically shows him essentially how horrible things are going. Even, Ugur as well is showing him as well. Ugur kind of takes him out to the diner. And I think it was Ugur. Takes him out the diner and kind of just tries to pull at some sort of empathy or humanity out of Tanya. Can you please, for just a moment, can you be normal? That aside, though, I like this portrayal, having Tanya come back home, and it seems like everything's fine. But then you have, like, especially with Rurugan. Rurugan's, like, at the end of his wits. Like, it just seems like he's frustrated. He's angry. Yeah. Things are sucking over the West. The South, everything's going horrible. We're going to have to pull people back. Not just from the East. We're going to have to pull people back because things aren't going well. And oh yeah, by the way, Tanya, we're going to need you to bomb a capital. We're going to need you to go and deploy into a capital. Oh, wait, you talk about over there? Over there? No. No, I'm not going to say it. It's literally here. It's literally here. Now, that was the scary part, because when Rurugan said that, I thought, okay, is this like an addition to what Zettor said? Like, is this a chain of command that's all thinking about having to take down the leadership? My assumption there is that Rurugan's upset because he knows we're going to have to start killing civilians here soon. There's going to be a threat upon, the higher-ups, and we're going to have to start shooting our own people. Or we're at least going to have to show basically the strong arm that we are. We're going to have to show how strong we are still to the people so they don't uprise. And that's what Rurugan's seeing, and he's like, crap, this is going to happen. I mean, he's talking to Rittersdorf, and I can see that Rittersdorf is seeing, again, this calm before the storm. Something's happening here soon, and Rurugan's seeing that, and he's going, okay, Tanya, you're about to be deployed. We're about to be deployed to this capital in order to keep things strict. That's why I'm assuming the following episodes are going to be going into. We're going to probably have at least 1 or 2 episodes of getting into literally the people uprising, and then Tanya having to, and here's a question mark, either fight back or, again, go to what Zettor potentially going what potentially Zettor wants, which is to allow it to happen. Are you willing to maybe potentially blow open the walls so that people can get into the capital and take out the people? Or are you going to shoot the people to keep them from going inside? What's your allegiance here? Do you want this war to end? Do you want to help the people, or are you going to go to what the military wants? Are you going to go what the leadership wants and attack the people and then go back out to war? Go back to the front lines where you have no supplies. You're not going to be able to make it. That's the question mark there. But again, I like the portrayal that they have here. Rudigen's just at his wits' end. Eventually goes off to Rudestorff. Rudestorff's like, tell me the full gist here. Tell me what's going on in the front lines. Has to give the whole layout of how. I think that was really telling, honestly. Going to Rudestorff and basically telling him things are crappy out there. You know that, obviously. Rudestorff knows that. Knows things aren't going well. He knows the mission's failed. He's going to Rudestorff and giving him sort of the brass tacks of why it's failing, which is that they don't know why they're fighting anymore. That's sort of I think for a commander, for somebody that is running a mission, to hear that from a commander from the front line is sort of telling that we don't know what we're doing. Are we destroying the enemy lines? Are we occupying territories? What are we doing? What's the goal? It's victory. What type of victory? Is it full out conquering? Again, is it occupation? What's the goal for victory? Like, we have our little mission list here. What does the mission require in order to get that victory sign at the end of the game? It's just victory. Okay, so you have no clue what you're doing. The leadership gave you no goals. They don't have an idea of what to do. And that's sort of been something that they've been pretty clear about for a while now. The leadership is clueless as to military things. They don't understand military goals. They don't understand what is needed for victory. They're just saying, hey, military leaders, do it. Make magic happen. We'll keep giving you civilians to gear up, but we need the victory to happen. Do it. That was like that whole scene with Zettor and Rudestorff and the leadership. It was like, please stop spilling blood. This is not going to happen. This is not going to work out. And Rudestorff opened his dumb mouth and said, we can do it. Gave them exactly what they wanted to hear, which is what we can do. We can do it. And it is kind of sad to see, especially in this episode, Rudestorff isn't blind to that. I think that portrayal in that scene really to give a sense of Rudestorff is, he's somebody that wants victory just like they do, and so he fed into it. But this episode is sort of a clarification there that, similar to Zettor, he does see this as failing. But he doesn't care. He knows that that's what leadership wants, and he's barking like the leadership wants him to. Zettor didn't want to bark, and that's why he got sent off. Rudestorff is barking just like leadership wants. He knows it's not good. He knows that they're not winning. He knows that things are going bad. He knows that there's going to be an uprising, but he still has to bark because that's what leadership wants. Yeah, that was a very, very telling little scene there. But again, I like that whole, like, after this whole thing, going to Ugur, and Ugur's basically trying to show him a little bit what Rudestorff is talking about, which is that, again, things aren't going well at home. And what it is basically the mood overall of the people back at home is not good. There's multiple things to it. The first thing here is that Ugur sees that living conditions have failed. Well, a little sample of it, honestly. He's seeing that the living conditions are starting to fail because there's so many supplies that are being sent to the front line. What we have here to eat is measly. I mean, this is a nice diner, and this is what we're having is basically scraps. In her brain, she immediately says, that's war. People back here are going to have to deal with it, right? I mean, that's what wartime is. You're going to obviously have to deal with this type of food. And Ugur's like, can you please be human for a second? Can you understand this is troubling to people? It's unsettling for the common folk to have to deal with this. They're expecting the war is going great. Everything's great, prospering for this nation. No. We're having to deal with scraps. And as we see later on with Rudestorff, there's coffins going down the street every 2 seconds. And at some point, we got tired of stopping and saluting the coffin because it's just everyday thing. They're getting sick of this. And again, as we see with the whole funeral scene, I like that little, again, the calm before the storm portrayal there, where Rudestorff is saying, look around you. Well, nobody's doing anything. Everything's fine. You know, they're enjoying their day. Yeah, these people are mourning their family, but that's expected. Nobody's uprising. Nobody's protesting. Yeah, but that's that whole aspect of sort of screaming so long that eventually you can't scream anymore, and then something happens. That's when things snap. That's when you have people snap, and that's when you have, again, uprisings, and you have all this kind of stuff. They know something's coming. They legit know that something's coming. Again, I think the two perspectives here are very interesting, because I think Ugur gives Tanya a perspective of a father. Yeah, I used to be a strategist, and I used to have to be cold-hearted, but I thank you for kind of pushing me away here, because I realized at some point that's not me. And once I had a child, I realized that a lot of me has changed, and I can't be like you. I can't see the world like you do, and I kind of want you to see the world that I do, because people right now are suffering. Again, from Uyghur's perspective, it's more like the general populace and the potential of an uprising that's going to happen because people are just kind of tired. They're kind of exhausted. They're on a thin line, basically, at this point. A lot of what Uyghur talks about really is portrayed in that little visual representation, which I'm assuming was created by Being X. I think that was their voice. This idea of kind of showing that twisted way that things are kind of being sort of pretty much infected by the front line. How all that madness from the front line is sort of spreading all the way back at home. That, yeah, every time you send a coffin back home or a wounded soldier comes back home, all that stuff sort of starts to affect the back at home. It's not just the lack of supplies and stuff like that. It's just the fact that mankind is constantly seeing people coming home injured, people being dead in coffins and stuff like that. And eventually, over time, that skews the minds of the people. Yeah, you see the child walking down the street with the doll, but deep down inside, there's an uneasiness. There's an unsettledness that's there. Again, the parents are probably trying to keep their child's mind off of what's going on around them. Again, they stopping and paying respects to the coffin going by. All logic in the world is destroyed, and chaos continues to grow stronger, and so they seek a greater being. They seek faith. Everyone you see is afraid. Thinking there's kind of a hint there, the possibility that the influence of Being X could potentially grow and grow, that people could seek some higher being. Again, that's a lot to do with probably what they're trying to push Tanya into being, which is the state of despair and seeking Being X in order to help him out. And it's so funny how Tanya keeps trying to push back and claim that, there's still hope there too. It's just like, no, stop it. Come back to common sense. Come back to common sense. These people are about to explode. These people are not seeing hope. This is every day they see death. Which, yes, all kind of leads to the conclusion that we kind of get here is where, despite the fact that they have propaganda that's trying to claim how great things are going and everything like that, this isn't going well. And in the end, it's kind of one of those things where Tanya wanted to get back to here, but now he's realizing his hope and his dream for this, peaceful, backline life is not going to go well. Like, it's falling apart even back here. So there's not going to be really a place for him to hide away at. Really, Tanya, you just need to get your gear and just fly far, far away and just hide in some cabin in the middle of the woods or something like that. It's really, I think, your only option at this point. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. I think that's pretty much, it's pretty much the episode. I kind of just ran around and talked about different points of different segments of this story, but it was a really good episode. And again, a really big eye-opening experience for, back at home, how things are not going well. But we'll see. Are they going to have Tanya do the dirty deed, or is Tanya going to stand aside and let it happen? I think it's an eventuality that this kingdom is going to fall. I'm not sure if it's going to happen yet, but I think we might start to see the earlier moments of it. But anyways, that's my thoughts on the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. Till next time, y'all take care.